Households and businesses depend on each other. For example, families buy goods while companies pay wages. The reason is that spending from one side becomes income for the other. That can mean the economy keeps moving because money and production circulate between them. Households supply labor. In real life, a nurse, driver, teacher, or designer sells time and skill to an employer. The pressure comes from this. Businesses need workers to produce value. The result can be wages or the link between household income and business activity. Businesses supply goods and services. Think of a bakery sells bread, a phone company sells connectivity, and a clinic sells care. The process works because firms organize labor, equipment, and risk into products. Over time, households turn income into demand by buying those products. Consumer spending guides business decisions. A simple case is this. A restaurant opens more branches when customers keep filling tables. The important driver is that demand tells firms what to produce, expand, or stop offering. That is why household choices shape business strategy. Business hiring affects household security. You might see it when a company that expands adds jobs and wages to a community. What matters underneath is that employment gives families income and confidence. If it is ignored, when hiring slows, households often spend more carefully. Prices connect both sides. One ordinary version is higher grocery prices raise business revenue but squeeze household budgets. The mechanism is that one price can look like income to a seller and cost to a buyer. The practical effect is the same transaction is experienced differently by each side. Profits are not only owner income. Consider profit can fund investment, debt payments, reserves, and expansion. The hidden part is that business survival depends on more than sales volume. The outcome is often that households may see high prices without seeing the costs behind them. Wages are costs to businesses and income to workers. The pattern shows up when a wage increase helps employees spend more but raises payroll expenses. The moving force is that firms balance retention, productivity, and pricing. The risk is that the effect depends on margins and competition. Credit links future income to present spending. In a daily situation, a household may buy a car with a loan while a business borrows for equipment. The link is that borrowing brings future payments into today's decisions. Once that link matters, debt can support growth or create stress. Savings also matter. The clearest example is households deposit money that banks can lend into the economy. The explanation starts with unused income can become investment through financial systems. The consequence is saving is not absence from the economy. It changes the route money takes. Government sits between both sides. For example, taxes, subsidies, regulations, and public services affect households and firms. The reason is that policy changes costs and incentives. That can mean a rule aimed at businesses may still affect consumers through prices or availability. Supply chains extend the interaction. In real life, a household buying shoes supports factories, shipping firms, stores, and workers. The pressure comes from this. One purchase travels through many businesses. The result can be local spending can create income far beyond the checkout counter. Confidence changes the loop. Think of families delay purchases when they fear job loss, and firms delay hiring when sales look weak. The process works because caution on one side reinforces caution on the other. Over time, confidence is not imaginary when it changes real spending. Inflation strains the relationship. A simple case is this. Business costs rise, prices rise, wages lag, and households cut back. The important driver is that each side tries to protect itself. That is why the pressure can move through contracts, shelves, paychecks, and budgets. Productivity can improve both sides. You might see it when better tools may help workers produce more per hour. What matters underneath is that higher productivity can support wages, profits, or lower prices. If it is ignored, the distribution of gains depends on bargaining, competition, and policy. Competition shapes how firms treat households. One ordinary version is many sellers make it harder to overcharge customers. The mechanism is that choice gives households power. The practical effect is weak competition can shift more value toward businesses. Household preferences change industries. Consider demand for online delivery, remote work tools, or healthier food pushes firms to adapt. The hidden part is that businesses watch behavior closely. The outcome is often that the market is partly a conversation between needs and offers. A downturn shows the connection clearly. The pattern shows up when lost jobs reduce spending, weaker spending reduces business revenue, and lower revenue reduces hiring. The moving force is that the loop can move downward quickly. The risk is that recovery often starts when one side regains confidence. The relationship is not one way. In a daily situation, households are workers, customers, savers, borrowers, and voters. The link is that businesses are employers, sellers, borrowers, investors, and taxpayers. Once that link matters, each role changes how money moves. Households and businesses becomes clearer when it is tested in ordinary life. Take paycheck becoming grocery spending. The point is visible in a paycheck becoming grocery spending. The choice changes because households and businesses changes the pressure around the decision. What matters is the real consequence for the people involved, not just the clean definition of households and businesses. When the example is concrete, households and businesses stop sounding abstract and starts looking like something people deal with in real conversations, bills, deadlines, and relationships. Another useful angle is company hiring after local demand rises. A company hiring after demand rises shows how one background condition can change the outcome before anyone calls it a big event. For households and businesses, the hidden force is the loop between income, spending, hiring, and production. Once the loop is visible, a paycheck and a grocery bill stop looking like separate events. The connection becomes useful when wages, prices, hiring, spending, and profit are seen as parts of the same loop. A weak reading treats families and firms as separate worlds and misses how each side depends on the other. In the case of family cutting purchases after layoffs, the final result may look simple from the outside, but the pressure was already building before anyone noticed it. Better judgment starts by following where the money goes after it leaves one hand. A practical example is business loan funding expansion. The practical point is not to memorize a slogan about households and businesses. The practical point is to see how one slowdown can move from a business decision into a household budget. That contrast explains why a company decision can show up later inside a family budget. Most confusion around households and businesses comes from missing that hidden exchange and focusing only on the surface event. The economy feels abstract until you follow money from a household to a business and back again. Income, spending, hiring, and prices are linked. A final example, wages supporting nearby shops, shows why this matters before the outcome becomes expensive, stressful, or emotionally charged. The strongest takeaway is to follow the money until the household and business sides meet. The practical point is to see how one slowdown can move from a business decision into a household budget. Once those parts are visible, households and businesses becomes less mysterious and much easier to handle in daily life.